Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're super excited to talk to you today about Dynamics 365 for talent, specifically, our onboarding and attract apps. So my name is Michelle Gleason. I'm on the marketing team for Dynamics.
My name is Brandon Potter. I'm a product PM manager. I lead the product management team responsible for building attract and onboard.
So in our time today, we're going to walk through some of the talent acquisition, digital transformation trends that are shaping the industry. Go a little bit into what's new with Attract, and Brandon will give you some live demos, and we'll take you through a few scenarios to really light that up for you. And then we'll talk a little bit about the licensing implications of the new features that we're offering. How do you actually buy that? So hopefully you've heard a lot about digital transformation already, so I won't drain this slide. But what we're really focusing on is how do we empower employees as part of that digital transformation. And specifically, we think about it in the context of the trends that are shaping the industry for human resources in particular. If you were able to attend the introductory session with Laurel and Lydia, hopefully you went into these trends in a little bit more detail. But where we're really going to be focusing with our time is on the war for talent. How do you get people in the jobs when you need them? So we've got a number of different statistics here about how difficult it is to actually get people into different kinds of roles, whether you're looking at technology jobs or otherwise. But I think the important thing to know is that this is an industry-wide phenomenon. Across the board, everyone is having trouble finding skilled applicants to fill their roles, and it's causing the cost to hire to really skyrocket, which again brings the issue to the front of the table for CHROs as well as CEOs in a way that really hasn't been the case in the past. HR has sort of done their thing in the background. As long as we were able to keep putting out product, it didn't matter quite as much. But in a scenario where we have so much scarcity of talent, it becomes increasingly important not only to be able to find those skilled applicants, and I said shortage of skilled applicants, not applicants. So the science there is finding the nuggets who are going to be able to do the right job in the right way to fulfill your company mission and values. And then being able to take those few that you're seeing and quickly put them through your hiring funnel and get them in the door quickly, because it's not just a talent shortage for you, it's also a talent shortage for your competitors. And if they're better at inspiring and potential employees and bringing them in the door as you're going to feel the pain of this even more. So legacy talent acquisition products have really focused on how to make work better for HR. How do I automate HR processes? How do I drive efficiency so they can get their job done in a more effective way? But with the talent shortage, one of the things that we're really seeing is that candidate expectations have changed, and not just changed, they've risen. And that applies both from the point of hiring, going through and engaging with a company, through to when they might onboard to a company and for the period of time that they stay there. One of the things to think about as well in the sort of digital age is candidates, prospective employees are not just prospective employees, particularly in consumer-facing businesses. They also represent prospective customers. 72% of candidates who don't hear back from a company have a negative perception of the company's brand and don't recommend that product or service. And so that's not great because they're a prospective customer and we've turned them off, and we've turned them off as a prospective employee as well. But with the advent of different kinds of social networks, the ability for that impact to ripple out and for them to share their negative employee experience, customer experience, et cetera, really can be something that sort of builds and continues to damage your ability to bring on good talent or to sell your product. From an onboarding perspective, we really think about this as before and after the candidate starts. This is the one opportunity that you have to really take the expectations that were set during the hiring process and the interview process and continue to refine them for the customer so they understand what they're actually signing up for and what they're actually going to do. The statistic we have here, 61% of employees say the realities of their job are different than what they got during the interview process. Seems like a really high number. Like, how do you not know what exactly someone is going to be doing when they start with your team? I know when I joined Microsoft, I was probably one of these 61% because I joined out of grad school and we had a generic vanilla template of this is your role, and then we found out it was going to be later. But those expectations were clearly set, and it was part of the process to continue to refine that. And I think that was super important in making sure that talent doesn't get poached throughout the process as you try to figure out, is this job better than this really precise job that fully aligns to this particular area of interest of mine? And then finally, there's the question of retention. And I really don't think about retention as, you know, the 20-year life that you might expect from someone at a company. That's really the old way of thinking. But really retention in terms of, you know, how do we communicate career opportunities to prospective hirees that would make them think, well, I was going to be here for 2 years, but maybe I'll be here for 3 years. Or if I was going to be here for 3 years, maybe I'll stay for 5, because I can see a path where I can grow with this company before I've even joined. So there's quite a few challenges that businesses are facing, sort of summarizing some of these elements. High cost to hire, increased time to hire, teams that aren't as impactful as you might hope, and not being able to actually land the candidates that you're trying to land. At the end of the day, hiring managers know what kind of talent they need for the team to achieve their goals. And recruiters know how to go out and get candidates. What we need is a way to enable hiring teams and recruiters to work really tightly together to get the best possible result, giving visibility to the hiring teams so that they can help to winnow through all of the different options that they have and quickly identify candidates that should be moved forward with. And here we're aligning incentives, because the longer a role is open, the longer the hiring team is going to be pulling double duty with various employees to get this work done. And then with a supply and demand issue, the candidate experience, again, it's critical. It's no longer a scenario where recruiting comes in and then I get sat down and I get 20 questions about how I'm going to do this or that and this and that, and tell me about a time when you did foo. Hiring, the process should really be looked at as an opportunity to engage in a two-way conversation, because that candidate is also evaluating you. So it should be about how do you inspire and engage with this particular candidate and share your company culture and mission so that they can see, you know, not just is this job a good fit, but would the next job be a good fit, or the one after that. So with Dynamics 365 for talent, we've really focused our priorities on finding the right talent, with making a seamless experience to get your jobs defined, to get them out there, source the right candidates, quickly filter through them, hire the right candidates with intelligence that helps you select the top folks that you should be looking for, and tools that quickly remove barriers that people don't expect you to have today, right? Like painful back and forth with scheduling. That's not something that in a modern experience candidates are expecting to have to deal with. And then finally, onboarding, again, not from the day that you start on the team, but before you even join. Make a candidate feel really welcome and have clear understanding of what they should be expecting to do in the upcoming time. And we do think that we're positioned rather uniquely to fulfill on a lot of these promises and requirements. So with regards to collaborative experiences, a lot of talent acquisition systems, again, are taking something that was built for an HR professional and expanding that out to sort of pull in hiring teams and pull in candidates. Attract was actually built specifically, like nascently, to think about how do we empower the hiring team and how do we give the candidate the most transparent, seamless process that we can give them in conjunction with what recruiting needs to accomplish their goals. And we also have at our disposal, lucky for us, you know, a few unique tools like LinkedIn, Office 365, Skype, Dynamics 365, which allow us to really build candidate experiences that are difficult for our competitors to replicate. And then I think you guys have probably seen Azure signs hanging around the conference. We do have a unique set of machine learning and AI tools also available at our disposal that we continue to leverage and invest in to build a stellar talent experience. And then finally, from a platform perspective, the business applications platform with the common data service for apps, talent is built right onto that. So we've paired together talent with all of the rest of your corporate data. It's already all there together. So any scenarios that you need to fulfill your particular company requirements, or just scenarios that require you to pair talent data for some reason, that's already going to be available and easy to accomplish using Power Apps and Flow. So talent, just a few more words on this. Really born in the cloud, so we've got super easy setup and integration. There's no long training process on how to use this, and it's available for anyone, anytime. We've also really spent a lot of time and investment on building a user interface that's incredibly intuitive. And then again, I talked a little bit already about the platform and the intelligence. So with that, what we're going to do is just jump into the product, and I'll hand it off to Brandon to talk about what's new, as well as take us into the experience.
Thanks, Michelle. So yeah, let's just spend some time talking about what's coming up, what's new. We actually have a significant release coming up in about a week's time, a little over a week's time, that will introduce a lot of new capability, enabling recruiters to go end-to-end recruiting, bringing lots of integration with LinkedIn, as well as Michelle mentioned the revised licensing, which we'll cover here in a little bit. So what is new? So as we look at basically the process here, we've really focused on helping you find the talent, create the collaborative experience, and bring that intelligent hiring process, as Michelle called out. In looking at finding the talent, we've done a lot of work with LinkedIn to integrate the LinkedIn Recruiter System Connect. So for those customers that are using LinkedIn Recruiter, it's very simple to connect the systems together, that integrate, that allow the data that you have in Attract and the data that you have in Recruiter to be shared across the two systems. You can see notes and in-mail within Attract. You can see candidate history, feedback, notes that you've gained from candidates over past application experiences on the Recruiter side. Helps the recruiter to be able to get in, either, regardless of whichever system they're in, they have the information that they need, regardless of the stage of the funnel that they're in, whether they're sourcing or screening. We've also brought the ability to have talent pools. So how many of you guys were familiar with Attract prior to this release that's coming up? So previously it was all about the job. You had to go to a job, you had candidates in a job. It was meant to be just more of a collaborative experience for hiring managers. With the release that's coming up, we're actually now a full-fledged applicant tracking system, where you now have talent pools. You can manage your candidates outside of jobs or inside of jobs. And those talent pools are also integrated with LinkedIn. As well as on a particular job, you can track prospective candidates separate from the actual applicants of the job. So depending on the stage in which those candidates are, whether you're just, as a recruiter, talking with them, trying to convince them to apply for the job, sell that job to them, they show up as prospects. But as soon as they apply, now they're full-fledged applicants, and you can track those through the system and through the rest of the process. In the job requisition and approvals position management, this has been a big ask from customers in that, if I want the hiring manager to be able to create the job and set that off through some form of a workflow for approval, and the recruiter can then come in, review, approve, and then process and post that, that's now possible in the application. So exactly as it says, you can set up that workflow. The employees, the hiring managers can come in, fill out the job description, everything that they want about that job, submit that off. When the recruiter gets it, they of course need to put all the legalities into that, make sure it's meeting all of the compliance needs for the job description, and then they can go ahead and activate and push that out to the job boards so that they can start sourcing and attracting candidates for that. Right in line with that is the external posting to the career site. So one thing we are releasing is an actual career site with Attract. So you can actually post, list your jobs, candidates can search the jobs and go through the full application process and then carry them into the candidate experience which existed in the product before. In addition to posting to the career site, we support the ability to post the job out to LinkedIn. So if you are using LinkedIn Jobs in job slots or one of their job posting products in addition to that, we've enabled an integration so that you can quickly get the job over to the LinkedIn side, and then depending on the other products that you subscribe to from LinkedIn, you can have those jobs show up and be amplified and suggested to candidates out there. And moving into the collaborative experience side of things, we've invested in enhancing the activity rules. So back in March, we released the ability at a job level that you can control the stage process. You can customize that process so that you have multiple stages and activities for the candidates. What we're bringing to the product now is the ability to templatize that process. So you can make that a repeatable process across your jobs. Maybe you have one division that has one hiring process and another has a different flow or process that they can go through. Along with that, with the activity rules, We've now done additional work to help indicate when a candidate has completed the activities. We've made some of the activities are now ability to mark them as mandatory, so you can't skip over them and put control and so forth. Dashboards and notifications is another big ask that we had from customers. So as a recruiter or somebody doing your scheduling or whatever that role is within the application, you want to jump into the application and quickly have information at your fingertips of things that you need to take care of. You don't want to just be presented with the job list like you were in the old. So now with dashboards, that's the first place you come to. Is you come to the dashboard, you can see anything that you need to take action on today, and et cetera. So I'll be showing a lot of these as we do go through the demo here. But it helps you to quickly know what's high priority and take those actions. We also have in-app notifications. So as things are coming in and you're working in the app, those are now notifying you in the application, in addition to the emails that we've had in the past. Email templates is the next big one. So this was probably the biggest ask that we've had from customers, is the ability to customize all of the emails that are coming out of the system. So the emails are no longer branded as Microsoft in the way that they were at the bottom. We've cleared that up. We've made it so that you can bring your branding into these emails, customized completely based on the different types, and have a catalog of templates that you have for each type of email going out of the system. A lot of the things that customers need to be able to put their own legal terms, privacy terms into their statements. That's all supported now in the email template capabilities. Role management is another big one. Previously, the security model in Attract was such that whoever created the job was the owner of the job, and then they would grant access to that job to the hiring manager or the recruiter or other interviewers. Now we have additional role securities where you can control who can be a recruiter, who can be a hiring manager, to give finer grain organizational control to the securities. We've separated the roles of a hiring manager and a recruiter a little bit. And then we've also added the ability to specify delegates. So one of the things oftentimes a hiring manager needs to specify somebody to do things, delegate their privileges on behalf of them or a recruiter. So you can, on a job level, you can delegate access out to someone else. Lastly, in the role management and security, you have the ability to specify the admins of the application can now get in and get across all of the jobs and act on behalf of others and perform the activities to help unblock other users and support them. We also have a read-only role if somebody needs to go in and just view the data across the entire application. So a lot of work in the security model in what we've done to help secure the data. And then lastly, offer management. We've been showing some of the offer management for a while. If you haven't seen that, you will see some of it. But we do have a robust offer management tool to build templatized offers, package multiple documents together, send those for electronic signature at the end. So that'll be part of the product as well when that releases here. A lot of this, I just want to point, is kind of made possible by the move to the Common Data Service for Apps, which I'll talk about again, and you'll hear that multiple times. So the security, everything like that is helping support that. Into the intelligence side of things, we now have the ability we've brought machine learning into the job. So when you're looking at a job with the particular candidates, we're automatically assessing those candidates, looking at them to see which ones are the most relevant and highlighting those for you. We're comparing them against the job description and then their profiles to help the recruiters and hiring managers understand who is really the most relevant for the job. We will be rolling out ability for, and this should have a P, by the way. The P means that'll actually be coming in a preview state in a couple weeks when we release this. It won't be full GA. We will also have support for the US EEO and OFCCP support. That should have a P by it. That's a mistake on the slide, so please note that. And then lastly, analytical dashboards. What we're working on is the ability for embedded analytics in the application with the first part, just a dashboard around that, and we'll continue to invest in bringing analytics throughout the application as well. As we look at the onboarding and then talking about the platform here, on the onboarding side, we've taken a lot of work to help you import your guides. This is about managing those guides and keeping them up to date. So importing guides between systems, you can now move them around, import them, or the templates themselves. On the onboarding guide template gallery, this is a really cool feature that we're launching in that people in your organization can actually create guides. As they use them, they understand what's good and bad about those guides. They learn, they improve, but they can take the best of their guides, whatever they want, and they can share those to a gallery so that other hiring managers can learn from the learn from everybody in the organization to improve this. Beyond that, we'll actually be looking to share those across customers, so customers can learn from other customers and stuff like that. So having a full gallery of being able to take onboarding guides and share those out. And if you're not sure what an onboarding guide is, you'll see that in the demo coming up as well. Lastly is manage activities in this space. So if you're an organization, maybe you're a department or an organization, you have defined things that you want to have in your onboarding guides or part of your process in onboarding. So you're going to create templates for your managers to use when they're bringing in a new employee. But you need to update those templates, or they're going to create additional guides. So now you can actually create these managed activities in one template and push them into other templates or other guides, but you can control those at a central location. So if you need to update an activity, it'll automatically go out to all of the active guides out there or templates. So another big ask for helping centrally manage the onboarding activities for a department or an organization. As we look for, again, helping to build the winning teams, we're now using integrations with Workforce or with Office to get suggested contacts. So as a manager, when I'm putting a guide together for my new hire, Michelle, here, I can actually see all of my contacts. So it's going to actually suggest people that I work with regularly, and oftentimes if I'm working with them, then potentially my new hires need to work with them, and different things like that. So we'll make suggestions based on the graph of people in Office to add them as suggested contacts for the new hires. So these are people that this new hire may want to get out, set up a meeting with on their first week or something like that to get to know the people they'll be working with. Onboarding teams is the ability now you can actually define a group of people as a team who may be able to act on a particular guide. It helps with the reporting area side so that we can report for a department or for an organization and give access to different data based on teams rather than just individuals. Assigning placeholders is important in the templates. One of the things that we needed to do is to be able to set up we can set the placeholders based on the roles of individuals in the access. So instead of just when you create a template with a who or a time or stuff, it's all placeholder based. So you can say it's for the hiring manager, and it'll automatically translate to the right person when that comes out. And then lastly, bulk guide updates. This is kind of in line with managed activities, in that when you need to update a guide, you can mass push that out to all of the active guides with that.
I think the key thing to keep in mind is just like one of the themes for Attract this fall is really taking something that was a hiring tool at sort of the team level and stretching that to be and evolving that to be something that could comprehensively address hiring needs even at the recruiter level. With Onboard, what we've had in the past is much more about facilitating team onboarding so that you as a team can define what needs to be done and get that out the door quickly, and really up-leveling that to be something that has the broader administrative controls and ability to manage such that it could be leveraged at a departmental level in a systematic and programmatic way.
Thanks, Michelle. So lastly, moving into the platform. So I think you've all heard about the Common Data Service and the Power Platform and everything. Anybody not heard of those concepts? So Dynamics 365 for Talent does Attract and Onboard sit natively on the Common Data Service for apps. That is their host, their database. So anything you can do through any of the 200 plus connectors with Power Apps and Flow, you can get to the data in Attract and Onboard and take action on that data or extend that data model to bring in. You can build Power Apps and embed those Power Apps back into Attract and Onboard to extend the experience for users as well. So a lot of work in extending the platform and keeping that capability. So that's a lot of the stuff that's new. I'm going to go ahead and start moving into the demo. So as we start in the demo, we're going to kind of go through that natural flow of the process. Now, at the front end of the process, though, we all know that candidates come in from multiple sources. There's the recruiter reaching out and pulling folks in. Maybe you've got somebody already in a talent pool and you need to pull them in, but how do you actually go out there and find them? So, and then lastly, candidates just naturally apply on their own by finding the jobs on their site. So we're going to go actually through 3 separate scenarios at the front end of that hiring flow, and then we'll carry forward through the rest of the process with one of them. So it might be a little shifting, and we'll explain kind of the scenario changes that we're going through there. So for the demo, Michelle, both the two of us will be kind of working through this demo. I'm going to be acting as kind of the recruiter/hiring manager as we're going through the roles. Michelle is going to be the fortunate candidate that we're looking to. to hire here. So to start out, as a recruiter, one of the things that's important for me in my job is to just always be on the lookout, building my network of candidates, getting to know people out there so that when that opportunity comes, I have a pool of candidates to go to. So starting in LinkedIn Recruiter, I can come in and start searching for folks. And of course, I'm going to search for myself because I want to, promote myself. But what I can do here is search for anybody, and I can typically that starts off with sending an in-mail. So I'm going to go ahead and send an in-mail out to this candidate. So one thing about LinkedIn is the members or the profile owners own their data. LinkedIn doesn't own their data. Microsoft doesn't own their data. The member owns their data. So even though I'm using LinkedIn, I can see their profile. I can't get that data out of the system. LinkedIn keeps it very controlled to protect that member's ownership of that data. So everything that happens when that data leaves the system it requires the member's consent. So as I go ahead and send this mail off, I'll send this off to the candidate. Hopefully they get it. Hopefully they respond. This is a kind of firing it over, getting it out there. And then as the candidate, when they get it and log into their profile, they can quickly see all of the mails that they've got there. And she sees this mail that I just sent. So she can say interested.
I'm interested, at least I want to learn more, so I'll just go ahead and fire off and say, sure, add me. What's this? Oh, Brandon wants to contact me for more information. Yeah, that seems fine. Go ahead and share my information with him.
So what's happened on the background as she's done that? That candidate's base profile, their email, their phone number, their name, and their stub profile has automatically been pulled into Attract in the backside, into a special talent pool that we create. So as we come back to Attract and we move over, we now have talent pools that I can come in and look at my LinkedIn pools and should we refresh that? There is a data issue going on here, but this is the profile that's come over. So this is actually it. It's come in, but you would see the base profile. I can come into the LinkedIn tab over here, and what I can actually see now is all of the full profile embedded directly in Talent. This has been around for a little bit, but I can see that profile. I can continue to send in mails in history, but also as I scroll down to the bottom, I have additional information. I can see any in-mail history directly here in Attract for this candidate, and if there were any notes, which you'll see on another candidate here in a bit, that also shows down at the bottom. Now, all of this is secured, so based on who has access to this particular job in Attract, you may have 100 recruiters using both applications, but they only need to see certain jobs. We secure the data in Recruiter to the same level that we do in Attract. So if you only have access to a certain set of jobs, you're only going to be able to see those jobs in Recruiter. Same for the candidates when you log into either system. So the next scenario here, I'm going to start completely from scratch. I have a new job that I need a post for. We're looking for a new field assistant. So I'm going to create a new job and start posting that. So let's just come into jobs and create a new one. My role is the recruiter, and I'll go ahead and add this job. And here now we see templates of the processes. So I've created a set of templates that have controlled stages and activities for different types of jobs that I'm hiring for. I'm going to go ahead and select, this is a mismatch, I'm going to select data scientist. Doesn't make sense for a field engineer, but we're going to go with that. And we're going to go ahead and take the job description that we've already written out and paste that into the application. Fully structured in a rich text format, we can put that. We'll go ahead and set the location. Another great new feature that we have is the ability to do position management. So what you can do is specify how many openings you're going to hire for this. So maybe you're posting one job, but fulfilling three new positions into this. So I could say 3 jobs. and come down and just set up the rest of the information. I don't have this particular instance configured to do so, but I could actually, if I had an integration with my core HR system, where we actually do all of our headcount and position management, reading from the Common Data Service, there is a position entity in that. I could automatically link the 3 specific positions to this job so that when we go off the backside and hire a candidate and send them to an offer, we can link which position we're going to be filling, matching a particular candidate to. I can come over and, oops, better save. Specify my hiring team, so here's Jeff. And I could add the hiring manager and other individuals to the job if I wanted to. And here we see the process that I talked about a minute ago here. So in the process, this all came from the template. I can come in and maybe I don't want this stage, so I'm gonna go ahead and take that stage out. But what I've also had the ability to do now is use additional custom activities. So I can take Power Apps or a YouTube video or a Microsoft Forms, or just simply an iframe and embed that in as an activity that a candidate or the recruiting team would need to go through. Lastly, I'm all good, I'm ready. I would activate that job. Now I can begin posting the job out to the various job boards. So I can post this to the career site. I could post it to LinkedIn if I wanted to. And we're ready to go with that job. Now that I've activated this position, as a recruiter, the next thing I want to do is now start going out and looking for candidates that are going to fill this position or that we can consider for it. So I'm going to come back to LinkedIn, and as a recruiter, I've created a saved search for myself to be able to quickly find candidates. And I see based on the search results that I've got in this saved search, and I can modify all of the different attributes that I want to search on, I see that I've got 3 prospective candidates. The power of LinkedIn is really helping me narrow this down. It knows the job because that job's now been posted out there. It can help doing some of that match and searching out there. I've got these 3 candidates. They're just anybody that had a potential match to my flat-out Boolean search that I've done. But it's also started to do some intelligence. So it's telling me these candidates are more likely to apply. On LinkedIn, there's also a feature that allows candidates to indicate that they're actively looking for a job. So anybody that has that turned on can mark that, and we can see that Cameron has that turned on. In addition to that, I can see that there's two past applicants. So Kane and Cameron here have actually already been in my ATS. So they're sitting in a tract. We have data on them. So I can see that information. If I go look at Cameron, drilling in here, I can actually see all that history now. Because we do integrate the 2 systems together, I can see all of the jobs that they've applied for. I can see their interview feedback. So here he applied for a director of data scientist. Here's the feedback that came in, any notes that were taken on Jeff's profile in a tract, as well as I can actually see the jobs in the history and the steps and when he advanced through the various stages of any past applications that he's had. If we take a look at Kane here, Kane actually has some information, not quite as much, but Kane actually is a really good candidate. So at this point, I want to take Kane and I want to push him directly to this job. So through the in-mail scenario that we went through before, he landed in a talent pool because it wasn't a job-specific search. So here I know I'm actually searching for this job that we just created, and I'm actually going to go ahead and come in and search for that field assistant job. If I can type. Oh my. So I see this field assistant 42. That's the job number. I can see it over there. So this is the job that we just created right here. So it syncs over, and as soon as I activate it, it'll show up in LinkedIn. So I can go ahead and export Kane into that. Obviously, there's some back and forth to the systems. I can see it's been picked up by the ATS. Now as I come back over and now come look at my prospects, I'll see Kane here in this new job that I just created. I can see he's a prospect. I don't have a full profile on him because all it does, again, I've just taken that stub profile from LinkedIn and brought it over. Kane hasn't consented to anything at this point. I'm just capturing prospects for the job. But I do have his LinkedIn profile that's embedded. So this is displaying the LinkedIn profile. It's not the data structured into the Attract database right now until he actually goes through an application. So I can see that history. I can see the in-mail, any notes. Here, looks like somebody's taken some notes. Notes or any recruiter has put notes on that, and LinkedIn Recruiter are going to show here. Something I could take with Kane, so right now he's showing as a prospect for this job. I could actually push him into another talent pool as well. So now he's kind of generically stored in the system to be able to use on other jobs if I wanted to do that as well. So that's kind of the second scenario of how I'm going to get candidates into the system into different areas. So the third one here is Cameron, as a candidate, is just actively looking at our job site. So with that, Michelle's going to come up, or Cameron.
Cameron. Okay, so I'm here in the job site just sort of browsing, what's out there. But it sounds like I've already applied for data scientist, but I am the persistent sort. So I'm just going to go ahead and see if there's anything new just to keep trying my luck here. And I see a new director of data science role that I'd like to learn a little bit more about. Director, yep, that suits me. Skills required, that all looks in line. So I'm going to go ahead and apply for this job with my personal account, my personal account, yeah. We're not touch enabled? Oh, we are. Okay. Great. So it's asking me to fill out a little bit of information. I'll go ahead and upload my resume here, my AI resume, and I'll submit that into the system. With that, we'll hand it back over to the recruiting team.
It just came through right as you.
We'll just display. This is the message that Cameron will see. It looks like we had a little bit of a lag there on the data flowing through, but I'll just see that it has logged my interest, and if I wanted to go back and see my status on the job, I could click on that button there.
So as I come into that job, so this is the Director of Data Scientist position back in Attract, I can now see a lot more information about all of the candidates that I have. So here you're starting to see some of that machine learning intelligence that we're bringing into the application. You see these cards with Jill, Amelia, Jesse coming into the system, indicating to me that these guys are somebody I should really consider or take a look at. We've taken their profile information and using machine learning, we've matched that against the job description far more than just simple keyword matching. It's doing much more intelligent search to find that common information. But as a recruiter, do I trust the system? Maybe, maybe not. It's new to me as a recruiter. Why is the system going to tell me better? I want to know. I want the system to also tell me why the system thinks it's a relevant candidate. So what we've done is more than just a black box. You start to see data showing up in these cards. So here we see that Jill is a better match because she has some of these key skills. So the skills, the training that goes on by identifying the types of jobs my company has, identifying what are truly skills versus just relevant information coming from the job, we can start honing in on that and letting the recruiter know that, hey, Jill is relevant and this is why she's relevant. As I look at Jill, I can quickly click over. I can get a profile from her. If she's an internal candidate, integrated with Office, anywhere I see this, I get the Office card popping up. And as I look at this, I'm ready to go ahead and start going through my applications. I want to quickly go through and screen these. So with the new carousel view, I can quickly come in and start paging through all of my candidates and quickly reviewing their profiles. And here's Cameron. We saw Michelle go through that application. So Cameron, sure enough, is in the system. Here's his application. We can see his LinkedIn profile again. And if you recall, she also attached a document. So we'll just come over to the document. Here's that resume. The resume does embed directly in the application, so you can review that. Cameron actually looks like a really good candidate, so I'm going to go ahead and advance him through the process and send him over to the next step. So in this particular case, we've actually done an assessment. We have providers that you can plug in, Koru being one of them, that is in a preview state right now that you can actually integrate and send assessments out. But in the interest, we're just going to go ahead and advance over, assuming the assessment came back good. I haven't marked that as a mandatory activity, so I can go ahead and move over that, but I could have if I configured it that way. We're now in the interview part of the process. So as part of the interview, we want to make sure that we're taking everybody's time into account. So I'm going to actually ask the candidate when they're available. I'd like to do interviews next Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday for this job, so I'll go ahead and send Cameron a few dates and give a message. This is actually where the email templates will come in right here when that releases. And we'll go ahead and send that off to Cameron. So as Cameron comes in.
All right, so we'll jump over to my inbox. And first I just want to point out that even from the point of application, I've been getting notifications and invitations to go to the candidate portal of what is actually happening with a job. So I can see when my application was received. I can see when I have had tasks added to my to-do list. And now I can see that I've got a request here to go ahead and give an indication of the dates that work the best for me. So clicking on that link takes me into the candidate portal where I can see all of my account information. And in the portal, if I did have other active jobs that I was looking at with this particular company, I could also see where am I at with that particular job, what's my status, as well as this individual job that I'm linking through into. So, okay, I see that, whoops, I didn't complete that assessment, but on this scheduled activity, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I think I've got a doctor's appointment on Wednesday, so we'll go ahead and confirm the specific dates that I can do Thursday and Friday. And give that back to the recruiting team. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Currently, so the question is it date and time or just date? It is date only right now. All right, so as the recruiter coming back into the system, I now see that Cameron has specified the 27th and 28th as his availability, and now I'm ready to go ahead and start creating that schedule. So I've already specified the hiring team as being Jeff, Danica, and Becky here when I configured this job, and I want to go ahead and make sure I include everybody on the team to be part of the interview. It's automatically come in with one of those dates, but I can see the highlighted dates are the ones that he's selected as his availability. We'll go ahead and stick with the 27th. And I have a number of options when I go through the scheduling. Oftentimes you may want to do one-on-one interviews or you could do a group panel interview. I'm going to go ahead and go with a one-on-one, but if I wanted a panel, I'd simply mark so. I could indicate that keep everybody in order, so it's going to sequence the interviews appropriately for me. I could advance and move those up and down to control that order. And I can just tell the system to go ahead and automatically make the suggested times based on everybody's availability in Office 365. Lastly, I could also include Skype meeting notes. If you are using Skype, you can include those if it was not a face-to-face meeting. So we'll go ahead and we're going to just do 30-minute meetings on the 27th for everybody to meet in order with Cameron. So the system automatically integrated with Office 365. I can quickly see Jeff, Danica, and Becky's availability, and the system's found a time slot that automatically works based on that. All sorts of adjustments I can override, move things up and down, expand, contract the length of these interviews. I could even come in and adjust the details of them individually. Now, when I send this out to the interviews, they're going to get just a regular calendar invite like they do any other meeting invite, and accept and reject that. Now, when they do accept and reject, just like any meeting, they can also leave notes in that acceptance and edit that response. We're going to see all of the responses directly in a track. We'd see their acceptance or declines, along with any messages or notes that they sent back to us as part of that process. Now, we're just going to fast forward over the back and forth with the interviews and get through that part, but you can imagine they would have accepted, we're ready, now we're scheduled, now it's interview day. So with the power of using, with the ability to embed Power Apps into the application, one of the things I've done here is added the ability for me just to indicate, hey, I want you to interview for a cultural fit. So I built a Power App with a list of the types of questions that maybe an interviewer would ask when they're trying to do that type of questioning. So they can see these, capture some notes if they want, but all of this section right here is a Power App that's completely embedded in the experience through the extensibility model. But there's always the official interview feedback that I do need to keep to indicate. So when I come into the feedback as an interviewer, I come in, I can quickly get to Cameron's full profile, know who I'm interviewing and what it is about that person. I can also get to the job details down below, all in one place, as well as quickly make a recommendation and move him forward. Some of the things that you can do now, you can actually come in and preliminary save it as a preliminary feedback before you actually formally submit that. There's a number of controls that you can put in place depending on how your organization manages feedback as well. So we'll submit that feedback. In time, everybody would come through, submit their feedback. I'd be able to quickly see the status of it as the hiring manager, review that feedback, and make that final decision. Of course, we're going to move forward with Cameron because he's our guy. So as we move him, the next stage is offer management. So we're ready to now ready to prepare that official offer for him. So we're going to go ahead and prepare that. And as soon as I do that, when I refresh, come back into offer management here, I'm going to see offer letters that have been requested. I'll see Cameron Levine come in there, and we'll start creating his offer letter. There he is, and we'll prepare that offer. So with offer, we have the ability of creating templates to be able to manage this process. So I'm going to go ahead and just click off of this for a second and talk about this for here. So in templates, I have a number of them that I've created. Here's the director of data scientists, or maybe I just have a generic engineering one that I use across all my engineering org. I can come in and, using the rich text editor, edit that document, make it look really nice, bring in tokens and details from the structured data from the job, the position, and the candidate directly into the application and fill that in automatically. So I can create all the templates that I need to be able to use and manage, to be able to quickly enable hiring manager or recruiters, whoever is responsible for sending that out, be able to send those out. The templates can be managed and ensure that you're managing the compliance around how your offers are going out. You could also create, that was creating one single document. I could also create multiple documents and package them as an offer package and send that whole package to the candidate for signatures as well. So we're going to go ahead and select that Director of Data Scientist template, and we'll see that it's automatically going out and populating the template with Cameron's specific details. I've configured this one to allow me to edit it. I could override data, but that's configurable and what you want to do. I can also send this through a workflow if I wanted to, so that there had to be an approver on this. But we're just going to go ahead and send this to the candidate for approval. The other thing I could do is attach documents. If I want to just preview what the candidate's going to be seeing, I could do so there as well. And just make sure that we're really giving a nice professional experience to the candidate. So we'll go ahead and send that out to Cameron. Now I have some offers, or some different, looks like we've missed some data here. Gotta put my phone number here, so. All right. So not all tokens have to actually be coming from the structured data. You could actually create a library of additional information that you have to fill out that's particularly to this, specific to this offer that you're sending out. So we'll go ahead and send this to the candidate. And I could actually set an expiration date if I wanted to, so that this is kind of an offer that's going to expire after a certain amount of time if we need to. I could request additional documents from Cameron if we needed them to upload a copy of their passport or some other type of information that we need as part of submitting this offer. And I could customize the mail that I want to send out to them and go ahead and send this to Cameron. Cameron is going to come back, and we'll see the candidate's experience through this.
Okay, so here we are back in my inbox, and I like to see emails that start with congratulations, so that already makes me feel happy. I can see here that I've gotten the job. So that's great. I need to break out the champagne, but first, how do I lock this in? So we'll go ahead and sign in as prompted. Just refresh here. Oh, there we go. It popped up. All right, so, and it disappeared. There we go. All right, so I can see I have the new task of viewing and accepting my offer. So we'll go ahead and take a look. And I can come back if I need to think about it later. All right, show me the money. What do we have? Exceptional wiring here, so. All right, so I can see all of the details of my offer. All right, up to 30% bonus, that seems great. All right, so all I have to do is click to join the team, and I can just indicate that I accept the offer by signing my name.
So one thing about signing those, different countries have different rules on what they allow for electronic signature. There's additional capabilities. Maybe you need to print that off. The candidate needs to print it off and upload a copy of it, or the candidate needs to physically come in and sign it, and then you could upload it back. That's all supported as well. And we are working with third-party signature companies that will be announced in the near future here with additional options for electronic signature as well. Okay, thanks. All right, so we come back in. We now see that Cameron's accepted his offer. So we see that status. We're ready to go ahead and now start onboarding Cameron. So as we come into onboarding, now we're ready to create that guide. So the guide is a templatized process. This is in the onboarding app. We've kind of switched off of Attract. And as managers or organizations, I can create templates of the onboarding guides. A guide consists of three kind of key parts to this. As we look at it, there's a nice welcome message that you want to give that candidate. So you give them a nice warm welcome, let them know you're excited to come into the organization. You want to give them a set of activities to be able to manage that onboarding into the team. What are things that they can do before they start, on their start date, their first week, their first month? You can configure this timeline on how you want to actually set this up. So in this case, we've got a set of activities to give to the candidate before they start, and so forth. So this is all a template that I've created. But let's go ahead and look at the guide that I've actually pre-created already for candidate, Cameron. And we'll see what we've done for him. There's that nice welcome message with an image in there, giving him these set of activities. Some of the activities that we've done is the ability to learn about his new role. Check on his first project, etc. So you can give lots of activities that they can do as they go through this. I may have clicked to open the wrong guide, so give me 1 second here.
And this is where if you don't want to start from scratch, again, we're building into that onboarding template gallery. So if there's a certain kind of role that you're looking for, we can provide you with some best practice steps on where to go with that.
Yeah, so that's it. I clicked into the wrong guide. Apologies for that. So now that I can see, I also see that I can choose a laptop. So I come in. This is another use of Power Apps embedded in the application. So we've built this Power App. Let me actually show you what the candidate's experience is going to look like. So when we send this to Cameron, give me 1 second here. I can actually preview the application. So when I preview the application and see what this is going to look like for Cameron, we'll actually see that Power App run embedded. We'll see the activities and how he can mark those and work through that. So here's that nice, rich welcome guide. I can see that. It runs great in desktop or mobile, so regardless of the device that they're working in. We can see the contacts that we've given him, and the resources. So this is all of the attachments that we've put throughout his guide. Coming back to this welcome, if we scroll down, we see all of those activities. So here's that choose your laptop guide. We can come in, see that the Power App runs directly in the experience here. He can actually, in this case, part of the onboarding is that we allow them to pick their own device that they get to pick from. Using the Common Data Service for apps, we've built an entity to store the products, or you're integrated with other entities. And we're just basically done some mapping here, saying he's a developer. We recommend developers get a Surface Book. Maybe he just wants a Surface Studio, because who doesn't? They're really cool. And he can go ahead and order that. A flow can be kicked off to purchasing, to IT, to purchase and configure that machine in the background, all as part of that onboarding experience. So onboarding is really not just about the hiring manager and the candidate. It's a collaborative experience. You want to make sure you're bringing the team in, incorporating. So I mentioned the contacts. We come into the contacts, and down here we see everybody that I've assigned, but this is talking about those. I mentioned those suggested contacts when I was giving the overview. Down below, looking through Office, the graph, we've been able to identify individuals on our team that my team works with that may also be good for candidates. So we'll go ahead and put Veronica up there as a contact for him as well. But beyond just contacts and people to work with, we also want to make sure that we are letting other people help out. So maybe I need to manage my contributors. So maybe we want to assign Cameron a mentor, and the mentor needs to come in and also give activities to Cameron, or maybe other people on the team to help bring this and give Cameron, hey, this is something I did when I onboarded, and maybe throw that into his guide. So you can come in and add additional contributors to the guide who have basically edit rights to the guide to put activities out to Cameron as well. I mentioned that the really nice thing, the day that you land that offer, he's accepted that offer. Oftentimes there's a long period of time between when they accept the offer and when they actually start their position. It's still very important that you keep them warm, keep them engaged, keep them excited to join the new job. So you want to make sure you get this guide out as soon as you send that offer. So we allow them to log in just like they were logging into the candidate experience with their personal credentials. But one of the things that we can do here is we can actually take a particular activity and we can mark it to that it's going to require their work email address. So this is going to secure this activity that once they come on board and join the company and begin logging in with their work credentials, it'll now open up the list of additional activities beyond the unsecured ones that they've got. So a lot of options with onboarding. Onboarding is really about onboarding the candidate into the team, helping them understand what that first little bit of time is going to be like before they start, things that they can do to help get going, and then they just acclimate into the team, get to know the people that they need to work with, and feel welcome as they go into that team. So with that, that ends the demo portion here. So we're going to switch back to the deck for just a minute.
Okay.
So I just want to call it, I did actually include, you can go out and download the slides. These next several slides, I'm not going to drain these slides, but these are some details about some of the highlighted features that are coming up in the next week and a half here when we ship this additional capability. So some details on the job publishing, the prospects and talent pools, intelligent, relevant candidates, so that's that relevance that we talked about, dashboards and notifications, more information around sourcing with LinkedIn, the departmental onboarding work and the stuff that we talked about that's coming in that space, extensibility with the CDS. So I'm not going to go through those in detail today because you can go download the slides and get those. That's really more for reference to give you more information. So at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Michelle, who's actually going to cover licensing.
Hooray. All right, the most exciting topic. So how many of you are familiar with Dynamics 365 licensing overall? Okay, so a few of you. So within Dynamics 365, we have plans that include individual applications that we sell, of which Talent is one. So Talent today is licensed through purchase of the $40 Talent license. So it's a sort of middle right box over there with a 5-user minimum and the team member's license. And that $40 license for Talent was really targeted to any scenarios that would be something that an HR person performs, be they a recruiter or a benefits manager, what have you. And the team member's license is really meant to account for the kinds of activities that an employee or a people manager would be performing. So that's how we've historically licensed, and today with Attract and Onboard, given that it was just sort of team capabilities, team hiring, team onboarding, that's been licensed within team members entirely. With the increased capabilities that we're delivering with Attract in particular, we're really taking what we have and graduating it into a full-fledged ATS. And so with that, we've reoriented a little bit on how we recognize the value for that and how we're actually going to capture it. So while we'll still have a need for those individual licenses to be there, the $40 for a recruiter or the $8 team members for a hiring manager, we're also introducing the concept of the comprehensive hiring add-on, because what we're really trying to recognize is the value that we're accruing to the entire organization with the delivery of the ATS versus the value that we're delivering to streamlining a particular team's process. So I won't read through everything on here, but most of the capabilities that you've seen Brandon demo, and the only thing I'll call out is with LinkedIn, what we're delivering is the integration. We do not bundle LinkedIn Recruiter licenses with any of our licensing, so that's always a separate purchase, nor do we have a plan to do so in the near future, just because I get that question frequently. But you can see there a list of the capabilities. There are some things that will be surfacing in the experience natively, like basic dashboarding, but for the most part, anything that we sort of think about as delivering organizational recruiting is going to require the purchase of that comprehensive hiring add-on. So just the $40 will not light up a lot of what you've seen. In terms of pricing then, the way that we think about it is basically tying to, how big is your organization, how is a proxy for how much hiring that you do, and I think this is pretty common in the competitive landscape as well. So basically the way to think about it from a customer perspective is how many employees do I have? If you can count that number, you can figure out how much you need to buy in terms of comprehensive hiring. We've got a few different price tiers just because we know that these things don't scale. But for sort of the baseline, what you're going to account for is basically $2 per employee. And then as you get to either 1,000 employees or 5,000 employees, that'll scale down to about $1.50 or $1 per employee. And right now we've packaged it up in packs of 100, so you would have to buy in increments of 100, which is why you see a little bit of the math there. Any questions on that? Since I know that might be an area of, this is a little bit of a new concept for us. In addition to, so you'll still need, so basically this will cover the sort of organizational value that's being delivered, and then you still need a license to actually authenticate into the application. How many? Sorry? So for 50,000 employees, it would be $50,000 because you're well within the comprehensive hiring tier 3 would be your list price per month. And then depending on how many recruiters and hiring managers you have logging in, you would have some additional price for the recruiters and the managers. Yeah, so it's not meant to be assigning a license to the employees because we know every employee doesn't use, and it would generate a pretty massive headache also to have to do license management against every single employee in the company as well. So it's not meant to be like this is the employee's specific access, but rather this is the value based on the size of the organization that we're delivering, and we're accounting for that on the basis of number of employees.
You think about it, the $40 and the $8 for the recruiter and hiring manager, respectively, are the access SKUs. That's the per user SKUs. This is a feature set SKU that sits at the organization level and unlocks additional capabilities to those that hold the user SKUs, licenses.
The only people who would need a license are the people who are going to log into the system, hiring managers or recruiters. So the employees themselves don't have to log in.
So if you had an HR team of 10 people and they all have the appropriate license,
Yep.
what won't work until you purchase this add-on?
So everything that you see in the right-hand column here would be enabled with the purchase of the add-on. So things like again, it's a lot of it that's related to this release, where we're taking a sort of hiring process at the team level and graduating that up to a full recruiting system for your talent acquisition team. So so we do have the ability to do like a basic talent pool in the product as it is today, but if you want to have multiple talent pools or talent pools that you share and do fancy things with, that's something that you would need the add-on for. Some of the new rules that we had around job requisition and workflow that we really think about as more programmatic, indicative of having a program that you actually implement around your talent acquisition, that's all related to the comprehensive hiring add-on and so forth. Are you talking about a proof of concept?
No, just even within an organization, since the apps are designed to be sold in some capacity to today,
Mm-hmm.
director level, if there's key functionality in there that they say, well, we want the entire organization now to go for this.
So
Like this is saying you need to license it for the entire org when you're ready to.
I think that's actually the pivotal key that we're changing in the recruiting space. The attract portion of talent is moving away from that departmental and becoming more of the organization's applicant tracking system. So the sales and the way that we go to market is to sell it to the organization more than the departmental upshift that we used to go with through the attract motion. So attract is meant to sell organization level.
Yeah, I think we do support like proof of concept and things like that, but what I found, at least in speaking with different customers, is they typically don't run two different applicant tracking systems in tandem or parse that out for a particular department. They really try to do that org-wide. At least that's been my experience.
And we do still offer the trials. So if you've gone to dynamics.com and gone through and signed up for a trial, everything you see on the right is enabled during a trial as well. So it's not that you just get the left even in a trial. You can try out the full-fledged experience for the trial period.
So am I reading this right that like the career side and offer management, you would only get those features if you have the comprehensive hiring add-on?
That's correct.
And do I have any partners in the room? Yeah, so we are going to include that in the IURs as well. We will, for IURs, we'll make sure that that's included.
So, go ahead.
If you go back one more slide, the Power Apps P2, can you talk to like when is a Power Apps P2 license required? Like if I'm extending talent and building Power Apps in there, when do I need to also get the P2?
Yeah, so there have been a bunch of changes with related, not a bunch of changes. There have been a few changes related to team members that have come up as part of this release. So right now, the way that you use Power Apps with Talent is you're actually embedding. So as long as you're embedding a Canvas app back into the Talent experience and you're not actually leaving that, you don't need a Power Apps license. Again, with the caveat that we've introduced a 15 custom entity limit for entities that you write to. So as long as you're not exceeding that limit and you're not actually having someone go separately to a Power App, which would trigger a login and then do a license check, they don't need a Power Apps license.
And those Power Apps can also be surfaced to the candidate if I wanted them to fill something out, or it's only internal?
So Power Apps cannot be introduced to the candidate at this point because of the security model. Power Apps does not support external login. That only supports Active Directory, AAD credentials, so a candidate can't log in. So there's no real way to secure that it is that candidate filling out that form and that. So it doesn't expose that to the candidate side today.
So if I wanted the candidate to fill out additional questions like on a form, could I use forms and service that to them?
It has a similar problem in that space. We actually have not done the work to add the extensibility to embed those at the candidate experience side right now. So that's not, the extensibility is on the internal side, so I can extend it. In the example that I showed, I'm exposing a set of questions to the interviewer and so forth. So they can show within the core application. We haven't actually extended the application side of it yet. So it's definitely the direction we're going though.
Yes.
So you should the attract portion of it. If an organization is interested in just the onboarding components of it,
Mm-hmm.
would they be purchasing that standalone?
Yeah.
finance and operations side, but who would say, I'm committed to many of these customer engagement plan workloads, and I'd like onboarding, track.
Yeah, so with onboarding, again, we still, like, even with the recent enhancements, we still think about that as more of a departmental solution. Like, it's not org-wide HR onboarding that you would do. So for now, all of onboard is still incorporated within team members, and there's no additional purchase required. So if you've got any other Dynamics license and you've purchased Talent, or if you had Unified Ops and got that already, you would still get on board with the team members offer. Now, from a principal's perspective, if you thought about rolling out a level of capabilities for onboard that tied to, organization level administrative onboarding, we might think about that as potentially being something that would trigger, but we don't have that today.
I just want to clarify, because you mentioned they're not ready for finance and operations. You don't have to be finance and operations to use Attract. So it sounded like that was kind of where you were leaning. Maybe I misunderstood. So.
There's a divide here between unified operations and customer engagement.
Mm-hmm.
And B2C customers who may already have an existing, ERP solution in place for financials, and may be unwilling to consider going off and purchasing unified operations because they hear
So, and that's okay. So that's what I say. So these dark blue boxes here. So as you see, purchasing finance and operations is one thing, and Talent comes with that when you do that. But you don't have. You can actually buy Talent completely standalone. So you could be a customer engagement and just buy Talent without finance and operations, and you can get Attract and onboard that way as well.
Let me just clarify one thing, because I think I didn't cover all of the Dynamics 365 licensing. But of these blue boxes, so you can't actually purchase finance and operations standalone. You have to purchase unified operations. So if you have someone who's using unified operations or finance and ops, they're on unified ops licenses, and so they do have Talent. There's no exception to that. Yeah.
the customers I'm talking about don't have that.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
P1 versus P2 designation, there was this concept of everything except finance and operations, and
Mm-hmm.
finance and operations. And now in this new concept, if a customer that already has the full customer engagement plan is excited about Talent capabilities, we have to go sell them $40 on top of the 115, which seems like a big step up for something the same.
That's if the specific user is using the 115 license and the 40. That's the only time that would apply. If your recruiter is not using the customer engagement application, or your HR professional is not, then they're not going to have both of those licenses. So it's important to understand that too. So, I just want to make sure that, questions beyond licensing too, everything that you've seen today, open it up. We have about 3 more minutes for just Q&A. We want to make sure that you guys have the time. We also we'll put this slide up while we're talking about it. These are other sessions. Some of them have passed, so go out and look at the information. But this is everything else coming up the rest of the week in the talent space as well. So any other questions across the whole demo or session? There was a hand in the back at one point, I thought, but I think that gentleman may have left. So Attract and Onboard do support 62 full languages based on the user's login. Yep. Oh, so for the data itself, so the job description. We do not support translation of the job descriptions today. So you'd have to, there's not really a great workaround, but other than posting 2 jobs for it, but we don't have the ability to translate the data itself right now. So posting to other job sites, we are actually working with some other providers that can help doing that. That'll be announced hopefully in the very near future. But through the Common Data Service, the extensibility, the data is there, so you can easily get to that data and push that out. Another thing that you can do in the application, I didn't show you this particular piece, is you can actually just get the link to the apply page for that particular job, and you can take that link and go post it in other sites as well, either manually or through an integration through the Common Data Service for apps. So the job does not link to the position. So the only thing that you can do today is specify which positions a job is hiring for. The details from the job itself do not flow into creating the job today.
So I think for F&O as well, in the core HR session, they'll be going into that in more detail.
There's a data integrator template, much like the CRM data integrator
Yeah.
template.
So.
It's all in the Common Data
Any other questions? You had your hand up. Did you? Okay, we can take after. Right. All right, if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and end it there. I appreciate you guys taking the time to come spend the afternoon with us, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thanks, guys.